All right, let's move on. We'll talk a little bit about the AFC playoff race here. And currently, after last night, the only team in the AFC to clinch a playoff spot so far is the Baltimore Ravens, and they did so with the win. Had they lost last night, there would have been no teams to clinch a spot. But the Ravens sit 11-3. They have a one-game lead in that one spot. The other divisional leaders right now, the Dolphins sit in the 2 spot, Chiefs in the 3rd, and Jags, although they're in a 3-way tie, are in the 4th spot. And let's talk about the Jaguars. So that AFC South division is a barn burner. It looked like the Jags were going to run away with it. They started 6-2. They've lost 4 of their last 6, and now all 3 teams are 8-6. We've got kind of the schedules in front of us here for the remaining games, but we know that the Jags hold the tiebreaker over the Colts. They beat them twice already. The Texans and the Jags splits, and the only teams that still need to play are the Colts and the Texans. Play a huge game the final week of the season in Indianapolis. Who do you think is going to actually win this division here?
I think the Jags, looking at the schedule here, by the way, very nice presentation, printing these off. Reminds me of like an old PowerPoint presentation that you would print off, and a lot of information here. But I
was
would
a very
say,
studious note taker.
yes,
in college.
no shit. I can definitely tell. You're the guy you wanted in your group when
That's
I
right.
wasn't doing anything. And but the Jags have looked terrible lately, obviously. They have not looked very good, but they close the season with the Bucks, Panthers, and Titans. You would assume the Titans have nothing to play for the last week, probably better off losing that game. The Panthers are not going to beat the Jags at home, I don't think. A big game this week against the Bucks. If they could beat them, you would think they would definitely end up winning the division just because they hold the tiebreaker, like you said, already beat the Colts twice, right? So, and I think 2 of these teams are getting into the playoffs, right? I would assume.
Probably.
I think unless the Bills, well, I guess the Bills are right there. I always forget about them, and I like them. So, but might just come down to that Texans-Colts game, Week 18, for that last spot. But will be interesting with Buffalo sitting right there at 8-6 too. There's a lot going on right now, and I'm glad the NFL added this extra playoff spot. Makes things a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of different scenarios. Like you said, you touched on it. No one had even clinched until last night.
Right.
The Ravens just did. So it will be interesting the last 3 weeks here. I think Buffalo can, like I said, I know we're just talking about the AFC South here, but I think Buffalo will find a way to sneak in. I really do at this point. But,
you've been adamant on Buffalo like this entire year, even when they were down. I'm not as high on Buffalo.
Yeah.
Even in the game against the Chiefs, it just didn't look very good. They played good early, and then really McDermott mismanaged the clock late, and if it weren't for that weird penalty, they lose the game there. I know they dominated Dallas yesterday. Even in that game, Josh Allen didn't look very good. Threw for 95 yards. But yeah, there's 9. If you include the Dolphins, there's 9 teams fighting for essentially 4 spots, 5 spots, 2 division championships, and 3 wild card spots. I think that the game this week with the Texans and Browns is massive because I just don't trust Trevor Lawrence, dude. He's got 45 turnovers over his first 3 seasons. He's fumbled the ball 15 times. He had 2 more last night. He turns the ball over too much. That's why the Jags are inconsistent. They've lost a lot of games at home this year. That Bucs game is not a gimme. The Bucs are playing pretty good football. I have to give it to them. They won again this week in Lambeau. I didn't think Baker could go in on the road and do that, but he did. Any chance the Colts? I mean, their defense just seems like a fraud, but they just keep fucking winning.
I think, you know what, knowing the Colts, they'll find a way to lose in Atlanta this week. I mean, that just seems that way.
That seems like that type of spot.
I assume the line's probably like somewhere near a pick 'em. I have no idea, but I assume it'll be something like that. Maybe the Falcons even favored by 1.
I think I looked last night, and I think the Colts were 2.5-point favorites.
So yeah, a close line.
Yeah.
But my thing with this race is Jacksonville looks terrible on offense lately. Lawrence hadn't looked good. But when you just look at that schedule, playing the Bucs, say they lose to the Bucs, right? They're going to – I think they'll beat the Panthers and the Titans. So then the Colts would have to go –
Hey, Bailey has something to say, our producer, about the Titans, okay?
Yeah, he's a big Titans guy.
The Titans are going to pull off that massive upset that last week, I tell you. They're hard to beat at home.
Is Vrabel going to leave Tennessee, I wonder?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'd be shocked. I don't think they're going to fire him.
Well, apparently they say that not fire him. That Bob Kraft wants him in New England. That's like what people think.
But why would you go to fucking New England right now? They're a shit show. They have no quarterback. I mean, I know they're going to get a good pick, but it's like, why would you go there? To me, the Titans have a little bit better of a team right now. I know Bailey's over there shaking his head like he's not going. Like, but I just don't. I don't know why anyone. Why would the fuck would anyone want that job right now? That's like going to fucking Colorado right now in college. Why would you want to go there?
People like to go home, and that's kind of Rabel's home. And if Bob Kraft came out and said, "Hey, I'll give you a 5-year deal, and you're gonna make $2 million more than you make in Tennessee," I think he would take the deal.
Maybe he would, but I
mean, Tennessee's not a great situation right now anyway. They're better than the freaking Patriots. There's zero doubt about that. But, I mean, when it comes to the Texans are the Jags in the next few years, they're not going to be probably near as good as those teams.
Yeah. Now, I will say, looking at this race real quick, back to the AFC South, I think the Texans probably have a better shot to get in than the Colts just because I think they're a better team. But if they lose to the Browns this week, they might miss the playoffs. Like that's a tough game. The Browns have been playing really good football, and I think they've won 2 of their last 3 since Joe Flacco took over. I don't know who's going to win this division. I'm going to say this. I think it's not going to be Jacksonville. I'm going to make a bold statement here. I said at the beginning of the year, everybody jumped on the Jacksonville bandwagon. I've been a Trevor Lawrence hater forever. I fucking hate Trevor Lawrence. He's a loser.
You're a noted Jags hater.
Yeah, he's a fucking loser. I mean, we'll talk about the Jags. We talked about the Jags earlier, but I just think, to me, the Texans or the Colts are going to find a way to win this division. Nothing has made sense in this division all year, so why would it start making sense now?
So you think the Jags are going to go 1-2?
I think the Jags are going to lose to the Bucs this week. I think they'll beat the Panthers, and I think the Titans will somehow upset them the final week. And I think, but I mean, just going 1-2, they could go 2-1, and if either of the Colts or the Texans win out, they would win the division. Like, that's possible. I mean, technically, actually, I would say the Colts have the easiest schedule of the 3. But, like, for example, let's say the Browns or the Texans beat the Titans and the Browns, and the Falcons beat the Colts beat the Falcons and the Raiders, and they go into that game where they both are 2-0. The Jags would have to win out to win the division because the winner of that game would be 11-6.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could happen. Like you said, it was a bold prediction, so it could happen. I don't think the Texans have a lot of questions this week. Hopefully, CJ Stroud's back and Nico Collins can play because I guess if I support any NFL team, it's the Texans. So I hope they do make it in the playoffs. I do like DeMeco Ryans. I think the defense is young and they'll be much better next year. And they got a lot of young talent on that team. I just don't know. Like I said, depends on the injuries this week. And the Browns just keep finding ways to win football games somehow. So